All right, we are back live again. We have got our special guest here, Kenneth Nixon of Framing Hanley. We are excited to have him joining us today. As you can see, Tony is in today for Mr. Matthew Fox. He's finally back with us after like a month or two hiatus. He's jumping in to talk some fantasy with us today. And then obviously we've got Mr. Dennis Bennett right there below me. Dennis, Tony, how you guys doing today?
Doing good. Glad to be back.
I am outstanding. I'm off work tomorrow. And hopefully the boat gets fixed and we can take the boat out this weekend. So,
well, there you go. That sounds a lot of fun. But as I mentioned, we've got a special guest here, Kenneth Nixon. He is the lead singer and songwriter of Framing Hanley. Their new album, Envy, is out now. How are you doing, man? Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and taking some time out of your day to talk some music and fantasy football.
Absolutely, man. It's a much-needed break from reality right now, right?
Yeah.
You know, obviously the four of us have something in common with or not in common, rather, with everything that's going on right now, other than just feeling like, I'm sure I'll speak on behalf of all three of you, of feeling like, you know, it's about time we do something about this that's been going on for way too long. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be able to talk football for a few minutes with you guys, definitely something I've been looking forward to for the last few days. You know, there's right outside in my backyard right now. There's, you know, the protesting is going on here in Nashville. So, you know, just something to take my mind off things right now. And unfortunately for some people, it's not something that they're able to take their minds off because they deal with this shit every day, you know? So,
yeah,
I appreciate you guys for having me, man. And, you know, hopefully we can have fun talking football for a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned that we do have the fantasy football in common. You have your own podcast as well called Two in the Bink, and your co-host is John Proctor of, and you'll learn this, I'm very bad at pronouncing things. Is it the Quant Edge? The Quant Edge?
Yeah, the Quant, TQE, yeah.
Gotcha. How is that going for you? I know you've only got, how many episodes do you have up? Is it just the one?
I don't know. I think it's like 4 now. I think we recorded like 5, put up like 4. It might be 3 or 4. We had Manny, Laura. I can't even tell you all the guests.
I know I listened to the one with Elliot Chris. So,
yeah,
so I
believe that was the most recent one we did.
Okay.
It was fun for me because we got to dabble in Dynasty a little bit, and that's not necessarily something that Proctor finds too much fun. You know, he's more of the
he's a DFS guy, right? Yeah.
So it's going great, man. Like I'm sure we'll get into it eventually, but like, you know, Proctor and I became buddies when he used to be with the Power Hour pod with Scott Barrett, you know.
Okay.
And became friends with those dudes just because they reminded me of me, just to like to drink beer and talk football. And they were smart asses. So we hit it off, and like me and that dude became pretty fast friends. And yeah, I mean, he's one of the sharpest dudes in the DFS industry. I think, you know, he's pretty much known as the preseason GOAT in the streets. So it's really fun. It's helped me take my DFS level for sure to another level. And yeah, I'm just trying to help him make better just decisions in life, I guess. I'm the last person to say that.
Yeah.
He's definitely got his life figured out better than I do.
So where did the name Two in the Bink come from?
I mean, obviously the play on, but yeah, I mean, the idea is it will be more centered around DFS. You know, you win a tournament, you bink a tournament.
Okay.
That's something that Proctor and I have both had, you know, been fortunate to do. Him more times than I, but yeah, the name just made sense. We're like, oh, that kind of is too perfect.
Yeah, I haven't heard the phrase "bink a tournament," so I guess I should get out more.
Yeah, you need to get in those DFS streets. It sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm a 50-50 guy. I'm a low cash, grow my bankroll slowly.
See, I'm the opposite, and that's something that he's always given me crap about. Is just being a smarter player, and that's and honestly, with, you know, it's Two in the Bink fantasy football 201 because it you know, we're not for beginners, but we're also not our core audience. I don't think we're targeting the sharps, if you will.
Right.
You know, it's like how we wanted to go over theory and like how to take your game to the next level and stuff like that is exactly how you do it. Is you know, talk bankroll management, playing cash games. I've always been that guy that's like all or nothing and just throw it all in week to week. I've lucked out a few times, but I've definitely, last season was pretty brutal. I had some big swings last season. So I'm going to try to get back in or get into cash and double ups more. To me, it's always just been like, it's boring playing cash.
Yeah, winning sucks.
Yeah, exactly. It's the stupidest thing.
I went from I dabble and I'm the kind of guy when it comes to DFS, if I don't feel good about a lineup, I won't play one just to play it.
Right.
I've got to feel good about it. In my first season, I tripled my money.
Nice.
Yeah, well, I went from $10 to $30. So my second season,
you've been playing, yeah.
My second season, I went from $30 to $10.
Yeah, that's about right.
So
I beat. Well, I can't say. I got second place in the big the slant, which is like the big $9 tournament that they do.
Right.
That, like, last year, my birthday was the day before season open. So my wife asked, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I was like, I'm just gonna sit in my office and I'm just gonna build lineups all day. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna study the slate, and then that Sunday, I just went to a bar by myself, sat at this bar myself, and watched football all day. And that was the week that I had Evan Ingram, and it was the Cowboys-Giants Week 1 game, and I had him at like 5% ownership, dude, and he just went off. The unfortunate thing is I was in first place, winning $50,000. Like, it hit me like late in the afternoon. I'm kind of drunk, and I'm like, "Yo, I really have a chance to bink this one. What's going on?" And then some dude had, again, I had Evan Ingram against the Cowboys, and some dude had a damn Cowboys stack that just ended up catching me. He had Gallup, Cooper, and Dak. So I fell to second place, but it was a pretty awesome Sunday. I had a couple of those last year, but like I said, last year was pretty brutal, and I know it was brutal for a lot of the quote unquote sharps last season. So it's fantasy football. You guys can attest to that, DFS or not. Those swings happen week to week. So
what would you say? And that's what got me last year is I started to play in some tournaments, and turn-up lineup building is different than cash game 50-50 building. So explain that to our listeners that don't maybe play too much.
And that's one thing that Proctor always gives me crap about too, is I'm always that guy looking to fade the chalk, no matter how good of a play it is. I don't know if you guys remember Week 1 2 years ago when the Le'Veon holdout came to fruition, and James Conner was super chalk because he was priced like a backup running back going into Week 1. Right. And I was an idiot.
Last pick. At that point, he was the last pick, and he was my last pick. It wasn't just chalk.
No.
It was trash value.
But Week 1, as far as like, he was just, everyone had him, and because he was a free square, and I instead paid up at running back, and I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, but I'm a Jaguars fan, and I'm not and I paid up for Fournette against the Giants, it was a great spot, and that was Week 1 again. So that was the first time he injured that hamstring, and he left like midway through, and I was just like, oh. So in tournaments, there's still such thing as eating the chalk and it being a good play. That was a week that it was a good play. The Spencer Ware year a couple of years back for the Chiefs was a good time to do that. But definitely it's more about nailing ownership. You get more into looking at team totals and what's a high pace game, and all right, well, how can I attack this? A lot of times my favorite play in that is, if I know this game's going to be chalky, how can I differentiate but still have a piece of that game? And I'll go with a pass catching running back a lot of times in that scenario. I think, though, a lot of people think you have to nail low ownership. You only have to have one or two pieces that go off in your lineup at low ownership and still differentiate your lineup enough just with those one or two pieces to where you could take down that tournament. It's not all about having guys that are all sub 10%. And I learned that the hard way a few years ago, and I'm definitely getting a little better at being fine with paying for a $10,000 CMC in a nut spot, because I'm like, well, everybody's going to have him, and I would be an idiot not to play him because his floor realistically is going to be 36 points here. So I'm going to take it. So
where are you going to make that up if you don't?
Exactly.
All right. Well, I got us off track a little bit, so I'll let Matt get back on schedule here.
We'll stick with the fantasy. We can talk music second. That's all right. Because I got a question on that. So, what is a typical Sunday? Obviously, you don't build your lineups on Sunday, but what is the what day do you usually build your lineups? You usually do it before the Thursday game, or you try to do it like a Friday, Saturday?
Usually, I do studying all week, and honestly, usually I do put them together. I wake up like 6 o'clock Central Time on Sunday.
Okay.
And start like I've narrowed down my core players by that point. But then, a lot of times you could have lineups that you think are beautiful come Friday night, and then that Sunday morning, 10 a.m. news drops with the inactives, and it just changes everything. So I try to at least know, like, all right, this is my core. These are the guys I'm targeting. But usually I have a routine where I'll listen to some of my favorite guys live on Sunday, Joe Holka, Manny Laura, some of these guys in their shows while I'm lineup building. Sometimes to my own detriment, where I let them talk me off of someone, or sometimes they talk me off of someone that I shouldn't be on. So usually Sunday, especially I have 3 kids, so I don't get a ton of time that I'm allowed to just sit there and tinker with lineup. Sunday, thankfully, has always been like a day that I'm allowed, especially now that, my kids are starting to get into sports too. So, Sunday mornings usually when I start finalizing everything. And I'm one of those guys, like, last minute, 11:45. I'm like, all right, I feel good now. I feel good. And that's always the worst. I feel like every time I'm heading into lock feeling great is when everything goes wrong.
Well, I hear you on the kids front. I got 2, both under 7, and so I do my best Saturday nights to keep them up to like 5 o'clock in the morning. So they sleep most of the day, and I can enjoy my Sundays. How many lineups do you usually on like a usual Sunday? How many do you usually throw in? Big tournaments and smaller stuff as well.
It just depends. And to go back to Dennis's question about like being a beginner, like I would suggest, for any listener that is starting to dabble into it, especially now with how tough DFS is. Know your limits, and I would start off in the quarter arcades where you learn, with a smaller bankroll, how to max out a tournament with 150 entries at a quarter, 25 cents a piece. That's something that is more affordable. But then you start to realize, like, all right, well, this is the way I'm attacking this percentage of this guy, this percentage of this guy. Obviously, you're going to want to look at things like an optimizer or something to help with the build itself. But for me, I play a lot of single entry and 3 max. I don't really play a lot of, I probably maybe once or twice ever have done a tournament and thrown 150. Like I said, the slant, when I finished second place last year, I think I threw, like, that's 150 max, and I think I threw like 40 in there, and I just had a couple that did really well. And then there's times when last year on an early slate, I usually do one early only, like for the early games, and we'll throw that in like 3 tournaments. And last year, dude, I did 2 on this one Sunday and threw them into 3 tournaments. And so it was like 1 into 1, and then the other one went into the other 2. And if I would have thrown that one that went into 1 into all 3 like I normally do, I would have beat every damn tournament instead. I finished second place, I finished first place in that, and then like second and third in the other 2. And I was like, I learned my lesson. I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. It's like you're going to figure it out. I know one of the questions y'all were going to ask is like how I got into fantasy in general. I remember the first time I played fantasy football, that was just like, it was just something I did on tour. I was not into it. So it's like, DFS was like that for me as well. Like at first I was playing low stakes, and it wasn't like a huge hit all of a sudden. So it wasn't anything that immediately grabbed me. And then I had like I finished 6th place in the Millie Maker. This was when they still did Sunday night and Monday night in the Millie Maker. Because I was in 3rd place. If it had the rules now, I would have finished 3rd. Because it was Rawls. I don't know if you guys remember. I forget who they were playing, but Rawls, the week that Marshawn was inactive last minute in the afternoon games. So I switched to Rawls, and I mean, I had him at like sub 1% ownership in the Millionaire Maker, which is like 200,000 entries, Right. So and he went off. He had like 200 all-purpose yards. I want to say like 3 touchdowns or something like that. Nice. And that I was just like, yo, what is going on right now? And I had a birthday party I had to go to that night, and I'll never forget. It was the damn Bengals against the Cardinals, and I remember Eifert dropped me, and then Monday night was still in the Millie Maker that year. They still had Monday night game, and I went to Monday Night Raw. I was sitting ringside at Monday Night Raw, just watching my phone all night, and it was either LaFell or Danny Amendola for the Patriots that just had me like drop because I had no ownership in that Sunday night, Monday night game. So I'm sitting there ringside, just like watching me just lose thousands of dollars. I'm like, I hate fantasy football. I mean, I know you guys have been there.
A helpless feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find myself in those situations. I play somebody from that. I work to find somebody from that game just to feel like if I'm going to lose, I want to lose because I picked the wrong damn guy, not because I've had everybody on Sunday and I'm just sitting there waiting and watching somebody go past me.
Dude, that's the thing now that somehow, like, not to be rude, but I call those people donkeys, where it's like they will on the Thursday through Monday slates, they will play like a bunch of dudes on Thursday, no matter how terrible the game is, just so they can see that green for a second on their screen, So it feels like they're doing well. And it's like there's an edge because those are lineups that are most of the time just wasted. To where
there are a lot of people there. I mean, and I've been guilty of it too in the past, where I just want some action. And so I'll play a guy on Thursday that I know is worthless. And I've tanked my lineup just so that I can be like involved
to
for
have
a
that
day.
That little bit of happiness.
That one little bit,
I don't think I've ever played a Thursday lineup.
But I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, though.
You're like, this is not going to end well.
It's not going to end well.
So you mentioned your favorite team is the Jaguars. How did you become a Jaguars fan?
Their expansion year, I was a young kid and I liked their jerseys. Okay. And it was to be different for my dad, not root for the team that he rooted for. And I just learned really everything I know about the sport by following them. And when we got the Titans here in Nashville, I didn't switch allegiance. So you can understand how terrible it's been living in Tennessee my entire life as a Jaguars fan, especially, when you go undefeated and look like you're going to the Super Bowl, except, oh, wait, the Titans beat you 3 times in one season, including in the AFC Championship game. That's something that I still haven't lived down to this day here in Nashville. But it was just following them because I like their jerseys and learning about the sport by following them. And we had a couple of good years back when we had Fred Taylor and Mojo. And
can I hijack you here for a second? Yeah. So I believe that Jacksonville's tanking at this point. Is that your opinion?
No.
I want to know what you think about Jacksonville moving forward into this year.
No, I think they legit think that Minshew, they want to at least give him the chance. And you got to keep this in mind too. Marrone, none of those guys gain anything by tanking. They know if they don't do something this year, they're gone next year. So they want Minshew to go out there and to be the savior for them. I think. Listen, I'm going to sound like the glass half full guy here, but I'm a Jaguars fan, so I've dealt with this my entire life. I know that they're a poor excuse for a sport team. I think that the win total is a little bit insulting because Minshew won Rookie of the Week 7 times last season. Not once, not twice. Like, it's insulting to just completely count this dude out, especially in the disarray that team had with the locker room falling apart. You got this 6th-round rookie that comes in there and just takes over the team, becomes a leader. One thing that I will say that gives me confidence in him is the final game of the season. They finally opened up the playbook to what they would give a year 3 starter against the Colts. And he went out there without Fournette week 17 and destroyed the Colts. I can't even say recency bias, but they had that game against Houston in London. That was the early game that every one of us saw, and it was the worst game that Minshew played by far. So that's what everybody's like, everybody's talking Minshew mania about this guy. Now, will I be upset if we get Trevor Lawrence? Absolutely not. But I won't be mad either if he does well, and then we go into next season's draft with 2 first-round picks, and our first-round pick is later than the one that we got from the Rams, because I think they're going to be terrible again next year. And it's also hilarious because it's going to go down in history looking like we fleeced them on that trade, I think, because I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Jalen around. But no, I mean, I won't be mad if we get Trevor Lawrence. It will suck if we win like 6-7 games, just enough to keep us out of the Lawrence sweepstakes. But then again, you win that many games, you have 2 first-round picks, you can make a move to get up there and get Trevor Lawrence or at least get a difference maker. There's like, what's his face?
Fields.
Yeah, and who's the dude out of? Is it North Dakota?
Trey Lance. Yeah.
Trey Lance.
Yeah. So I'm rooting.
I saw something today where Trevor Lawrence wasn't even the number 1 rated quarterback. I mean, there's still debate about. I think it's crazy. I understand. But I saw
right.
I saw an argument where he wasn't the number 1 quarterback. So I'm with you. I mean, you don't have to tank for a quarterback, and especially considering the landscape of the quarterback position. I mean, there are still quarterbacks on the market. There are quarterbacks on short-term deals. You can have a successful football team. Look at the Miami Dolphins. Everybody thought the Dolphins were tanking, and then all of a sudden we're tired of Josh Rosen, and we're going to win right now with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Draft picks be damned. The Dolphins knew they weren't going to win the Super Bowl, but they were going to win games. I agree with you that the Jaguars. I'm a Colts fan.
Mm-hmm.
The Jaguars aren't just going to lay down. Like, they're not just going to quit.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. So that's exciting. I mean, it is exciting.
Whose seat is hotter, Marone's or Minshew's?
Minshew's seat is hotter.
No, I mean, Marone won't be our – I don't think they'll keep Marone after this season if we have a losing record, which we're going to have a losing record. I think Minshew will at least stay on the team because he's a 6th-round rookie that's proven he can win games. He's not going to be Mason Rudolph and come in there and just be completely inept. So the whole seat hotter, I don't even know if they obviously, I mean, who the hell am I to guess this right now in June? But I don't know if we did end up getting Trevor Lawrence, if it's one of those things. It really depends on how Minshew does this season, or where it's do they immediately bring in Trevor Lawrence and put him in week 1, which I know, yes, 9.9 out of 10 times you do. But I mean, dude, trust me. I think any team would love to win with a 6th-round quarterback right now on a rookie deal. But granted, obviously Trevor would be on a rookie deal as well. But I think they know that Ngakoue, that's a lost cause at this point. It's a complete rebuild, which it's been the last 25 years as a Jaguars fan.
It's brutal. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm a Lions fan, so I can relate.
I'm a Browns fan, so we understand your pain on that. It's just,
but Matt understands it better than anybody.
I think all 3 of your teams will at least have winning records this year.
I thought the same thing last year too, and I suffered that pain all season long with what the Browns did. So I'm not going to get my hopes up this year.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been targeting buying Baker anywhere I can in Dynasty because I'm not worried about that with them knowing that they had to improve the offensive line. Going to run a lot more 12. I've also been getting a lot more OBJ because he's still way too cheap for what his talent level is. I will say, out of all 4 of our teams, I don't know that I'm pissed at any team more than I am the Lions for completely ruining DeAndre Swift's draft value this year.
Yeah.
It depends on where your rookie picks are at. If you're picking at 6 or 7 in a single quarterback league, then you're like, man, that's good for me.
I picked him pretty early overall. And I think this was a draft too that right after the NFL draft, so there was no excuse for it. It was just, going into last year's college season, I thought he was the most talented running back in the nation. Still, arguably, it can be that guy. Just that landing spot's brutal, man. Because and your coach is a bigger donkey than any of our coaches. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, Dennis knows we've talked about it on here. I'm a huge Swift fan as well. He was my number 1 running back coming into this class. Still, even with the landing spot, we had a guy on who Debbie Kane was on with us during the NFL draft. We were live for a little bit, and he really talked me into it. I think Swift is going to still be really good this year. He'll obviously split with Carry-On, but I'm still high on him. But I'm with you. I think the coaching is what's going to kill him more than Carry-On.
Well, and not just that. It's Theo Riddick was very good at what he did when he was a Lion, and none of us would have been happy to get Theo Riddick in the first round of our rookie drafts, And granted, obviously, he's not as talented, never was as talented as Swift is, but like Patricia is he's totally the coach that will split them like that, probably.
Yeah.
And we've seen Carry-On be great as well. So, I don't know. I mean, hopefully he just goes out there and is electric right off the bat and earns an every down role. I took my one of my main like dynasty leagues. We have basically most all the leagues I commission, you only have to start one running back.
Okay.
And usually they're all PPR leagues, so usually I just get a pass. I was lucky the year that Kareem Hunt came in. He was my guy that year and for the Chiefs. And I mean, my game theory always in dynasty football, and I don't know how you guys are, but the shelf life for wide receiver is just way longer than running back. So I just always have like a crazy group of pretty young stud receivers, and I take a few gambles with a running back that's not a sexy pick, but you can get in the later rounds of a startup. Like David Montgomery's going too late right now for being a second-year running back. Sony Michel's terrible, but he's free in startup drafts right now. And with a team that's probably going to completely change their offensive identity, I don't mind, having an arsenal of, 8 or 9, just like when I say stud, I'm talking like I could read off one of these rosters.
Did you say Ronald Jones?
I do have. He's on that team, actually. My running backs on that team are Rojo,
Ronald Jones is my guy.
Montgomery and Sony Michel are like the 3 that I'm like, all right, well, one of these guys I could look out. See, I'm a Vanderbilt fan, so like I think Vaughn can be the real deal there, but we also know that Tom Brady does not love having a rookie running back out there.
I think lucky for Vaughn, Jones can't block for shit. So
well, I think
so that means Dario Gumbawale will be the guy.
I think they'll end up. I will not be surprised when they end up bringing in Freeman. I mean, Arians is talking about it right now in the media about how he just wants too much money.
Right.
The fact that he's mentioning him in the, that means that he's trying to be like, hey,
negotiating in the
you
press.
want to come win a Super Bowl or not?
Get your price down. You got a spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Freeman would be really, really, really dumb to take a year off at his age, given the mileage he has. And what better offense to just go and be told, hey, you're probably going to be the every down back here. Rojo, though, I will, until the wheels completely fall off, I will be a believer, because it's crazy how great he was in college. People forget that he was, in a lot of people's eyes, better than Saquon Barkley in college, and then it just hasn't come to fruition yet at the pro level. But
probably
there's one guy that could change but if there's one guy that can change everything, it's Tom Brady. And speaking of which, I have to say, I would love so much, and hopefully 2 of you at least are on the same page as me as being AFC team fans. I would love so much for Brady to go there and be very successful with Gronk, and then the story be written Brady Gronk instead of Brady Belichick, when it's all said and done. That was it was those two, not Hoodie and Brady, but obviously very unlikely that's going to happen.
It's such a weird hate as a Colts fan.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a weird thing, because I respect the man. I mean, come on. Like, what is there to say about Tom Brady that's bad? I mean,
good looking. That's the problem.
He's good looking. That's the problem. He's better looking than me.
No, you guys should be preparing for a Tampa New England Super Bowl and Stidham taking it to him.
That's ridiculous.
Dethroning Brady, putting him out to pasture.
If Tom Brady can rally Tampa Bay and make them into a Super Bowl contender, I mean, I'll be floored. He's the best. At that point, as a Colts fan, I'll have no choice but to say Tom Brady's the best quarterback of all time. There will be no argument. It'll be over.
Listen, I live in Tennessee, grown up here my entire life. I've been a Vanderbilt fan, so just like the Jaguars fan, I've taken a lot of shit from UT fans my entire life, but I've always been a Peyton homer. Always loved it. When Brady came back in that Atlanta Super Bowl, I was like, there's no denying it anymore. He's the GOAT. And plus, just the last few years, he's kind of had that face turn, which is a pro wrestling.
Right.
But with the way he is on social media and his personality and stuff now, like I like the guy now. I love Godwin. You know, Arians. I love Arians, even though he lies a lot.
He's on a team that he's on a team that we love now.
Yeah.
Like now he's not the enemy anymore. Now he's
never had an offense like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, obviously not taken away from Randy Moss, but he's never had an offense like that. And what people don't realize is, hey, their defense also started to get really good at the end of the season. Well, like obviously the pass rush was there, front seven was there, but like the secondary, if that makes a leap, even slightly, their win total opened at what? I think like 8 games. And it's probably up to like 10 and a half by now. But I still like looking at their schedule, like there's just not a lot of stuff on there that scares me. You know, I think that they've got probably 4 easy wins right off the bat with Atlanta and Panthers being in the same division. So,
well, yeah, just like you mentioned with the how good that defense was, I believe their average margin of loss last year was like 5 points. Like that just shows how good their defense was. Now, some of it obviously is Winston throwing the ball like 5,000 times, but you know their defense definitely was good. So, if you had to cap it, who do you think has more wins then? The Hoodie and Bill Belichick, or Brady and the
dude, that's not even close.
Come on.
I mean, I 100% am a believer that the Bucs are going to make a serious run, probably in the postseason. Like I don't think the Patriots are, which is so great. It's. I mean, I think it's the Bills.
I agree with you. I'm 100% on board that. All right, so
I feel like we're doing something wrong. Are we all doing something that's against the rules? Like,
no, Belichick is going to shut us all up and go like 11 and
right.
Like,
no shit.
He's going to win
Michelle MVP.
We're all going to be pissed off, and it come January when they're the 2 seed because Patrick Mahomes is the 1 seed. We're just like, son of a bitch. Like, it's all crazy.
James White and Rex Burkhead both get hurt, and somehow Sony becomes an every down back that, you know, goes for 1,000 and 1,000.
Punches in 18 touchdowns.
Right.
18 1-yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so you talked a little bit about your draft style there earlier about how you like to go heavy wide receivers, mostly based on your dynasty formats and everything. So who are some of your favorite wide receivers that you have? Like who are those guys you have a lot of stock in?
Let's see. I'm in 9 dynasty leagues, I think, and only one of those leagues do I not own Devontae Adams.
Nice.
And most of those, you know, worked when he came out of Fresno State. And, you know, a lot of people gave up. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember that, but like that first year going into second year, a lot of people were calling him a bum. And I know we were going to get into bold calls. Like that's my bold call. I think he's wide receiver 1 this year, barring health. I have a ton of him. Godwin, obviously. I've been making a lot of Hopkins for Godwin trades this offseason, which I think Godwin's the best receiver in football. I think Hopkins is the best wide receiver in football. But, you know, as sexy as that Arizona landing spot is as well, I think they're going to spread the ball around a lot, which granted, they're going to throw the ball a lot more. But I don't know, like I think rather moving forward have Godwin on my team. Juju is a guy that I think in startups he's still going too late right now. Golly was another guy that I got rookie year. I would say my like outside of the Adams call, my bold call that I'm trying to acquire him everywhere I can is I think Allen Robinson is going to be a top 5 wide receiver in football this year.
Oh, I love that.
I think where did he finish in PPR? Probably he was in top 10 last year, and he had.
I want to say he was 9 or 8. We just did talked about the Bears.
I love it.
He was very high up there. It was surprising to me to see him that high.
And now he's got Foles, who's, you know, look what Foles did with Alshon, and he's way better. And Alshon had some great years in Chicago, but like Allen Robinson is, in my opinion, the most underrated wide receiver in the league still. Like people still don't realize, like just look at his list of quarterbacks dating all the way back to college. It's pathetic, and he's always just been that guy. Dude, that's a joke I've always made about being a Jaguars fan too, is if I buy the jersey, they always get rid of the player. It's been A-Rob, It's been Jalen, and then Ngakoue was my favorite player until this offseason, where I'm just like, stop doing this. But yeah, I'm rooting for A-Rob.
Maybe try buying a jersey of a player not on your team and see if they trade for that player.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Well, I was gonna say, just do me a favor, don't buy a Chark jersey because his chemistry with Minshew I love, and so I don't want to see him go anywhere. I love that kid. I'm gonna go off the beaten path here a little bit.
I want to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I want
wait. No, it's my turn.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Go, Tony.
I just want to tell everybody, once I traded Alvin Kamara for Devontae Adams, straight up. And I loved it. I thought it was a win deal. I want you guys to feel on it. It was a dynasty league, and it was before.
We saved the bragging for the end of the show, Tony.
Yeah.
No. Is it bragging? Is it bragging? Come on, stop. Is it bragging?
That's just being good at playing dynasty football. And he's one of those guys too. I can't tell you how many leagues the owner of Kamara, they've tried trading him to me this offseason, where I'm just like, yo, the talent's obviously real.
Yeah.
But, so is the fact that, I mean, it looks like he's might be one of those players where he's going to have injuries, just the way he plays football. If Breeze goes down, this is by far, but even before this stupid shit that's happening right now, what Breeze said, this is absolutely his last season. If Jameis stays there, Jameis stays there, then you still love that. But which I think I would hope Peyton is smart enough to keep him over Taysom Hill. But then you see all the shit that damn, what's his face? Why is his name escaping me? Glazer says that the Taysom shit's real. Yeah. He said that they view him as the heir apparent for Breeze, and it's like, why?
That's Glazer's wrong.
Dude, I thought, like, speaking of things that pissed me off this offseason was that Winston. Like, I wanted him so bad to land either with the Colts.
Yeah,
like
I wanted him in the Colts bad. Yeah.
Or in as a Charger. Like, dude, him as a Charger?
Yeah.
Instead, they've got a quarterback that hopefully none of my league mates are listening to this, but because I have a lot of Austin Eckler and I'm trying to sell him so hard right now. Tyrod's gonna kill Eckler's value. I think that they're gonna, utilize what's his face that they just drafted.
Herbert.
No, the running back
Kelly.
Oh,
yeah, because he's arguably a better in between the tackles runner. And as great as Eckler was last year, do we really expect him to repeat that kind of, season or being that efficient? It's like expecting the same thing out of Tannehill this year, which I cannot wait for all the Tennessee Titans fans to be disappointed in that.
I can't wait either.
I will say, dude, as a Colts fan, I think it's criminal that you guys are the favorite to win the division.
What do you mean it's criminal? What does that mean? It's criminal?
Well, I don't know if you've heard of this guy called Deshaun Watson that's in our and he lost Hopkins, granted.
What was that guy's name? Hopkins? They got a second-round pick and a 30-year-old running back.
But if Cooks can avoid another concussion,
I agree,
and Fuller can keep his legs intact, and what's his face actually earn a role.
Stills or Kuti?
Yeah. Kuti. Stills like is one of those players I saw a lot of people expecting him to be dropped before the season.
Yeah.
Because they had Kuti, and then what's the other dude that they had last year that played Kuti off the field a lot? Anyway, all I'm saying is they're plus 300 right now to win the division. That's a great bet because our division sucks every year. People forget the year that the Jaguars went to the AFC Championship game, and need I remind you, Miles Jack was not down. The next year, everybody had us as a Super Bowl team, and then we won 5
I don't think they can do it. I don't think they can do it. They can't get through the Titans. So forget the Colts. Take my homerism out of it. The Titans' defense is strong enough that I think it's going to stop. I really think it'll stop Houston from performing. Listen, Brandon, the problem is the coronavirus. I agree with everything that you're saying. I love Brandon Cooks. I love Kenny Stills. Will Fuller, if healthy and playing 16 games, I mean, dude, that guy can take 3 targets he can take 3 targets for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. The problem is when we look at the changes that this team has to deal with, and then they have like significant real hurdles to come over. I don't know they can do it fast enough. I'm not saying I hate the Texans, but I really do believe the Colts are going to win the division. Not as a homer, but the Titans are the problem. It's the Colts and the Titans. That's my issue. Is you're shaking your head at me. Tell me about it.
Titans, though, you stop Henry and they're done. Ryan Tannehill's not going to win you games. We saw that when the pressure came on. He wasn't winning them games.
Well, see, I am more of a guy that's just not big into the Titans defense. Like I think that they've made some terrible moves. The best draft pick they made on defense and move period was drafting what's his face out of was Mississippi State.
Simmons.
Yeah, Simmons. Great, that was a great pick. But like drafting, God bless the tiny cornerback out of USC. Everybody's so excited around here for him, and he was good last year. But like, who was he guarding in most of those games?
Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, Adoree. And then signing the God, I'm being terrible with names right now. The expatriate to the deal that he had.
Van Noy? No, not Van Noy. Who'd they get?
No, the corner.
Butler, Malcolm Butler.
Malcolm Butler.
To be fair,
I'm not worried.
You got enough information that nobody's gonna judge you for the names because you nailed it all. Like you had all the information. Don't worry about it.
I'm not. For me, it is the defense, and I'm someone that am a huge fan of AJ Brown, and just like Rojo, man, I will not give up on Corey Davis. I hope he lands on another team. Him coming out of college that year, he was easily the best wide receiver in that draft. I thought he was going to be a home run pick when they took him. I was very pissed that they got him, just like I was very pissed when they got AJ Brown. So I hopefully the Corey Davis stuff happens after he's not a Titan. But dude, you say that, and we failed to mention, what if if the Texans throw Duke Johnson in the slot and then have David Johnson out there as an every down back? That offense is still pretty nice with Deshaun Watson under center.
That's true. That's true.
Their offensive line still sucks. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the big issue. And the defense isn't good enough.
I don't hear you talk about an offensive line being bad when you're a Colts fan.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to talk bad about anybody's offensive line. You have the best offensive line in the league. That's
why I'm allowed to talk about it.
The only reason I would side with Kenneth is because they have Watson, though. Like, he bails them out of so many things. Yeah. And the one person I'll say, I wouldn't even go Kuti. I'm going to take Dennis's guy here. Isaiah Coulter would be the guy that I think is going to take over in the slot. Where is he out of? The small college? I can't remember what
Delaware or Rhode Island. Rhode Island.
I think he's going to end up beating out Kuti for that slot spot. I mean, it is going to come down to Cooks and see the Fuller thing, though. You guys keep saying if he stays healthy for 16 games, you got to limit your expectations. If he stays healthy for like 5 games, they'll be all right. Because he gets injured too much. I love Fuller. I am a
you get one season fan. Out of Fuller, though. But one season out of Fuller will be enough.
I hate Fuller anymore because he's got mediocre hands and he can't stay healthy. But I think this is his year.
Well, I hope so.
I think because he's going to get a higher target share. And I just think that the odds have to be in his favor to stay healthy.
What is his ADP right now in a startup? He's probably still like way undervalued, even though he's the clear wide receiver 1 in that offense.
I'll look at sleeper ADP.
Okay, I was gonna pull it up. Well, while we're pulling up the ADP, how have your rookie drafts been going in your dynasty leagues? Have there been one player you've tried to get a lot of shares of? You've been mixing it up?
I have not had a lot of first-round picks. I've traded a lot of those, this was not a good year not to have a lot of first-round picks. So one guy that I've tried to come away from every draft with is McFarland. I think that he's going to have a role for the Steelers, and it's very likely that James Conner gets injured. Benny Snell's not good at football at the pro level. So I've been trying to, McFarland's not someone that you've got to spend high draft capital on. Usually you can make some move somewhere during the rookie draft to get in and grab him before he comes off the board. So I've got a lot of McFarland. I think, in a loaded wide receiver class, my favorite receiver easily was CeeDee Lamb. I hate that landing spot. Long term, it's going to be great in Dynasty. I think somebody like Jefferson is going to be somebody that's coming. I have actually a bet with Scott Barrett with Jalen Reagor against Jefferson, And I took Jefferson as far as I just think year one, he's going to be someone that, he's just inheriting a ton of targets with Diggs leaving. And another player that you can probably count on missing a game or two is Adam Thielen. So then, by default, he becomes the number one receiver. And yeah, I feel you at the COVID shit. I get you on that. It does look like we are going to have training camp though. So that's changing things a little bit, I think. Yeah. To that point Tajay Sharp's another receiver that's free and you can get him at the very end of a startup, and he landed in for the Vikings. So if you're looking at, well, if Thielen's going to miss some time, is it going to be BC Johnson on the field with Jefferson, or is it going to be, Tajay Sharp on the field? Sharp was a guy that way outplayed what anyone thought he was capable of doing when he had opportunity in Tennessee. So I'm rooting for that guy, because I think, if they would not have made that terrible pick of Corey Davis in the top 5 that year, Tajay Sharp would probably be a Titan right now, because every time he got on the field, he was a game changer for them. As much as a wide receiver for a team that passes the ball 11 times a game can be a game changer.
Right.
Were we asking what Will Fuller's ADP was?
Yes.
It was 71. On Sleeper, it's 71.
Huh. And is that's a dynasty startup?
That'd be dynasty PPR.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's higher than I expected, actually.
That was higher than I expected too. Yeah.
What
71 over.
What wide receiver is that? Does it show?
It doesn't show. I could probably figure it out. It's right behind. I'll say if I look at wide receivers, Fuller. It gives me Christian Kirk was the one ahead of him.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
What about who's a couple of guys going ahead of him and behind him? I was trying to get this to pull up on mine, but I cannot remember my login information now, and so it's not letting me get on here.
I'm working on that right now.
Okay, so
all right.
Will Fuller's going on Dynasty Trade Calculator ADP. He's going as wide receiver 34 at think about
Wide receiver what?
34.
Wow.
Behind Golden Tate.
Yeah, I'm seeing Christian Kirk, Michael Gallup, Devontae Parker, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, Jalen Reagor, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd. That's the order in reverse. So
I probably went all of those guys before Fuller, except for you said like 2 names that I was like, I'd take him before. Oh, like Thielen.
Gallup, Thielen, Jefferson, Lockett, Reagor, Landry.
Landry and Thielen, I would take Fuller before those guys. I think all those other guys I would probably take before Fuller.
Okay.
I think Gallup and Lamb are probably going to be the 2 guys that stick around in Dallas long term.
After Fuller was Marquise Brown, Ruggs, Harry, Mike Williams, T.Y. Hilton.
Those are 2 guys too that I'm targeting a ton this offseason is Hollywood and N'Keal Harry. Everybody's excited about the Brennan Ayuk pick or whatever, but people fail to realize that he wasn't a thing in college football until that team didn't have N'Keal Harry anymore. And hopefully, him and Stidham, hopefully they have some type of connection from, because I'm sure they were practicing a lot together when he was coming back from injury last year. But he's another guy that's I think being drafted later than what he should be for a guy that they put a lot of draft equity in.
I've been rebuffed on my attempts to acquire N'Keal Harry.
Oh yeah.
So apparently, I must be making terrible offers because I'm not getting counters. So when I hear a whole lot of negative talk out there about him, I'm like, well, I'm going to make some low ball offers and see if I can get the conversation started. But not even getting it started. I'm not trying too terribly hard. It's not like, well, I got to get this guy. But I'll throw out there, man, Stidham sucks. You want to trade Harry?
I'll say that. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just going to make a joke about how bad I think N'Keal Harry is. So go ahead. I'll say
just on the note of, we were talking about a dynasty startup and like usually my strategy approaching that. I did this draft this year with Siege. It was his like invitational. There were a lot of sharp people, and Elliott's in this league, Siege in this league. You got Scott Barrett in this league, Danny Kelly. A lot of sharp people in this industry, and PPR. Dynasty startup, my receivers, Devontae Adams, Robbie Anderson, OBJ, Tyler Boyd, Brandon Cooks, Corey Davis, Devin Funchess, Alshon Jeffrey, David Moore, Allen Robinson, Tajay Sharks, Juju. It's like I'm not spending high draft equity on a running back when you can just load up a team like that, because the odds are, you're looking at a situation like you are right now with Devontae Freeman, where he plays really well, and then after a few years, you're just like, well, he's not worth anything on my team anymore. That's and you have all these running backs still that I think that, if something happens to Chubb and Kareem Hunt is a league winner and somebody that probably winds up on a different team next year as an every down player again, because
you're right.
That damn good.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't put that evil on me, man. I need Nick Chubb to have a great year. I own him way too many places. If the Browns are going to do anything this year, I need Chubb. So let's not throw that out there. Let's not speak that into existence, please. It'll make me very sad.
Well, the bad news is I just ordered a Chubb jersey.
Son of a bitch. All right, I'm gonna start selling. Anybody who's watching, I'm selling Chubb. Come at me. Bring the offers. Bring the offers. All right, I was trying to pull up something on Chark here really quick. So Chark finished last year in full point PPR leagues as wide receiver 18. Obviously, got hurt, missed a game in between there. I think it kind of affected him too, as he scored double digits in every single game outside of one before the injury. How high do you think Chark can rise up this year?
I don't know, man. Like, I definitely feel like they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more than than they've been before. But at the same time, there's the line of thinking: are they just going to run Fournette into the ground while they've got him? The chatter was very real about them trying to move him to Tampa Bay during the draft. Like that was almost a done deal. Which, as someone that thinks he's been a very overvalued player since being in the league, Fournette is a really good dude. So it's like I was hoping that happened for him, that he could go and have a shot at winning a Super Bowl. I don't know. Like, I don't own a lot of Chark. I believe in the dude, because he's an LSU receiver, and somehow LSU receivers were always awesome without having a quarterback until this last year, and they finally get a quarterback. And you're like, oh, they finally get a quarterback, and they win the national championship, and their quarterback breaks all these records. Right. Go figure. So I don't know. Like, I think it's real. They need someone to step up. Dede was supposed to be the guy for us, not Chark. They like Chark a lot, but Dede was the guy they thought would be the T.Y. Hilton for our team. Coming out of Oklahoma, he was the best receiver in college football his sophomore year, I believe.
It's not over. That's not over. That's not.
I mean, that's what sucks though, is like all of their best receivers right now are best out of the slot, like except for Conley, and then Conley is not exactly a spring chicken anymore. So I hope I hope it happens, but I mean, Chark clearly outplayed him every game last season. There were so many times last season where Dede was underpriced in DFS, and I was like, oh, I'm going to load up on Dede because the Chark thing, variance is going to hit. It can't continue. And then lo and behold, Dede, finishes with 8 targets and like 2 catches for 22 yards. So yeah, I don't know. You said he finished where last year? Wide receiver
18.
what?
18. And that was with so as I said, I was looking at it here. I'll pull it right back up. So, I mean, literally double-digit games. His worst double-digit game was 10.3 in full point PPRs. He had, it was all 20s, a couple 30 games in there. And then after the injury, though, he had that 3.8 and a 7.4 game. So I'm assuming that a lot of that, I think, had to do with the injury, and he missed that game. That's only through 16 as well. I don't count week 17.
Oh, yeah,
so
he definitely
changed him up. But I mean, still, that's not bad.
He proved before the injury, obviously, like, all right, this guy to the organization, like, this is a guy we want to protect. So I mean, you're right there. Like, after the injury, they're just like, well, we're not going to get this guy, hurt in typical Jaguar fashion. I think that's probably his ceiling. I don't expect him. I would say he'd probably be right around there again this year. I mean, The thing is, the yardage and everything can go up. But from what I remember, he had a shit ton of touchdowns last year.
The touchdowns a lot.
Caught like every touchdown, I think, for us almost. We got Gruden now as the OC and probably our head coach soon enough. I think that he's gonna, utilize a lot of Tyler Eifert. I think that, Josh Oliver's hopefully going to become the tight end that they drafted him to be. I don't think that he loves Chark, which is great. Hopefully he does use him like an AJ Green, but I don't know. He's not someone that right now I would be like going after. There are a lot of receivers probably being drafted around him that I'd rather have than him, and maybe that's just because I don't want to, I don't want to jinx him as a Jaguars fan.
Well, I can tell you, I know the guy sitting below me here is still on that DD. Like me and you were on that Rojo train until it comes off the tracks. That guy's on that DD Westbrook train until it comes off the tracks.
Yeah, I've cooled my expectations substantially, though. He's got some dog in him, man, and he's a fighter. But I don't know. He's just not putting it together. We'll have to wait for that Devontae Parker 4th-year breakout.
Yeah, there we go. And I mean, it could, the unfortunate thing is the Parker breakout was definitely a part of that was just being force fed the ball, and they don't have to do that right now with Chark. But I definitely think that I could see him just landing in a better system with a better coach and being the player that he was supposed to be. That's so Jaguars. So that's probably exactly going to be what happens next season.
That is so Jaguars.
So I've got to ask you. You clearly know what you're talking about with a lot of the things that you've brought up, a lot of the stats and the players you've mentioned. What I've been most impressed with, this may just be the studying you do once they're in the NFL, is the college talk that you're talking about. Do you watch a lot of college football?
Fucking of course not, dude. I just told you I'm a Vanderbilt Commodores fan, man.
Oh, okay. I'm impressed by most people when they come on here, they can't tell you like where guys went to school and stuff like that. So it's interesting to hear. I love college football, so that's why I was asking.
Dynasty football, starting in dynasty leagues, definitely made me, because a lot of the guys that I started playing in these leagues with, a lot of my buddies and shit, they're not used to studying prospects beyond UT or their favorite team. So that's where the edge was to be like, all right, I'm just going to, spend, oh, cool, my team's doing well during the regular season. I'm going to focus on this next draft class. I've got a couple guys I can move, because, and you guys know this, fish that are new to Dynasty, a lot of times those picks don't mean anything to them. And you can acquire them very easily. Thankfully, it's a lot more fun, I can say, honestly, playing with guys that know what they're doing, because you start, it just makes you a better player as well. But I mean, we live in the age of information, and with what fantasy football has become in the Twitter sphere and all the great analysts out there, I would definitely say that I let them do a lot of the work and heavy lifting and just do my studying beyond that. But yeah, I mean, I love football more than I love music. And I mean, that's the truth. So it's like a lot of my free time is spent just on football and getting better at noticing traits when watching film. And you guys mentioned the Elliott episode that we did of Two in the Bank, and that's something we both spoke to. Obviously, he's a wizard with watching film. So I just, same way I've always been with music, is I try to learn from my peers and people that I feel that are better than me in this industry, and like, all right, how can I get better? And not to brag, but playing with some of these dudes that I did look up to in this industry, and then taking their money at the end of the season in these dynasty leagues, it's a big boost to ego there. So
yeah,
then it's very satisfying.
Then you find more time to put into studying and getting better at that. So yeah, man, it's if you want to be good at anything, you got to put the work in, and it's not difficult to go and look up an incoming class and to just put the work in and find out, well, all right. But then you have shit like Chenault this year, where it's just like, all right, well, who's this guy going to be? Because hopefully he's the guy that he was 2 seasons ago in college football, and not the guy he was because of injuries. The worst dude with that pick, because I loved the pick, because I was like, oh, cool. They honestly, over CJ Henderson, I wanted them to take a receiver in the first round. When they didn't, and we got Chenault, and especially when they were like, he was a guy that we had as our second first-round pick. I was like, cool, you go and get your guy. And then all the comps, the Cordero Patterson, come out, and you're just like, that's not – you don't spend a second-round pick on a guy that you're like, hopefully he can be like Cordero Patterson. You want that guy to come on there and, like, to be a dude that elevates Chark and the entire offense around him. And the Cordell Patterson and goddamn Denard Robinson is all like that's all I can think of right now is just like, oh my God, they're going to find a way to screw this up.
Well, the one thing I'll say for Chenault, I did his rookie profile for the Dynasty Nerds website that Dennis that runs over there, and I don't think that that's a fair comp to make. I think they're doing that because he's a little bit raw at receiver, and they can use him at running back and all that stuff. But he's not as fast as Patterson, but he's a much better athlete in my opinion. I think he's going to be, if used right, and I think Jay Gruden's a smart enough offensive mind that they will use him right. I think he's actually going to be a sneaky. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 or anything like that, but I could see him end up being a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 if used the right way. It's the injuries that are going to hold him back more than anything else. But I like Chenault. I think he's a very good prospect. Very good prospect.
Well, and they didn't spend first-round capital on him like they did on Patterson, Minnesota. Yeah. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, Minnesota. I forget they took him as a first-rounder because they took Treadwell was also a first-rounder, right? He was a high-end first-rounder, wasn't he?
Who was that?
Who?
Laquan Treadwell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think both of them. Actually, wasn't Patterson? I know Treadwell was a top 10 pick. Wasn't Patterson a top 10 pick as well?
Patterson went 29.
29? Okay.
And then they get, the guy they hit on is a dude that was
undrafted free agent.
Well, and Diggs, I think, is the best route runner in football.
I agree with that. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear you say that. Thank you.
But, I think I could go on about this shit all day, man. I think one guy that should be unleashed and just put on a team that uses him to his best abilities and is right up there with Diggs and his route running is Curtis Samuel, and it just hasn't happened yet in Carolina. And I love that call. When they started talking about him being on the trade block, I was like, please trade him. Everyone thinks that. I get it. Like, that offense is sexy, but like Teddy is Teddy at this point, man. Like, I was the biggest Bridgewater fan coming out of Louisville. I wanted him in Jacksonville. Also, I can go find all the Lamar Jacksonville tweets that I had when he was in college football as well. But, that gruesome injury he had, he was very overrated last year in New Orleans. I mean, he had Sean Payton. People forget what he looked like the year before in New Orleans. It wasn't – like, you guys remember when Michael Thomas was trying to break Colston's record? And he goes out there the last game of the season and had to play for like almost 4 in a meaningless game, had to play almost 4 entire quarters to get like 30 yards from Bridgewater. And he was peppered in targets. And it's just like Teddy's not like a downfield thrower. And, that's everyone's like, well, they added Robbie. They've already got DJ, they've got Samuel. And it's like, well, not all these guys can feast with Teddy Bridgewater as their quarterback.
That's true.
McCaffrey will.
Oh, yeah.
McCaffrey will. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
He might have 1,500 yards receiving this year.
I'm here for it.
Man, one of the Ball Blast girls posted today, if you took away his yards after the catch, I guess McCaffrey only had 8 yards receiving.
Like, it was like 5 or 8. Yeah, it was nothing.
That's not real.
Nothing.
The rest of it was all after the catch.
Wow.
And this might upset you being a Jaguars fan, but I hated when they took Fournette over CMC.
That's going to upset me. How do you think I felt?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like, there were so many people. Everybody kind of forgets, right? It's like the revisionist history because of how good CMC has been. Everybody forgets what Leonard Fournette was, but so I guess you were right there with me. I was so worried about Fournette's ankle injury. I was like, he's the guy, and I was so surprised that they did.
CMC, dude. Yeah. That draft was. I wanted Watson, and then we could have gotten Kamara in the 3rd round.
Well, that was
history.
That changes the franchise. That changes everything.
You go in the 2nd round, and you miss on tackle like we did, but still, the 3rd round, you go and get Kamara, and like I was beating the drum. I was like, this guy's going to be a badass in the NFL. Like, if he's used correctly.
You probably saw that too with being there in Nashville.
Yeah, exactly.
He was left behind at UT. Everybody kind of forgets that he was there. But hey, I hear you on Watson because the Browns traded out of that pick to the Texans to give him that, and I was like, no, wait, what's going on? So I'm there with you. I'm passing on Watson.
They've never literally. I mean, the year we got Jalen and Miles in the 1st round. Is the only year that I've liked our loved our draft. Like, I'm hoping Henderson and Chase Hahn, I'm hoping those picks hit, but I think that they made it clear that they're trying to take guys I forget which podcast I was listening to that said this, but Derek Brown is probably arguably a more like sure thing than Henderson. But if Henderson hits, that's a more important piece to your defense than what Derek Brown would be. So it's like they went out and they just made a lot of gambles this year, which is that smart? Who knows? But if they can replace Ngakoue, with Chason and Henderson hits, then it's like cool. All right, you're going into next season with 2 more first-round picks. What can you do? I'm just so used to being sad as a Jaguars fan that I'm not holding my breath, man.
Yeah, I like both their picks too. I think Chason could. I don't know if he'll be Ngakoue, but I think he could be really good. And Henderson, you're right. He has the shutdown corner potential. He has the potential to beat Jalen Ramsey. He's just got to get there. That's going to be his thing. But I like both their picks. I think it's been good. So, do we want to talk music now? Or do we want to keep talking fantasy football? It's completely up to you.
We can keep talking football. What else y'all want to know? I'm saying. No, I mean it's whatever, man. I'm the guest. I'm your guest here. Whatever you want to ask.
Tony, Dennis, you guys want to ask it? I feel like I've been peppering him with a whole bunch of questions. You guys, anything you want to talk to him about?
Well, I mean, you have on the list
here
who's your bold call. So how about we can go around the table. We'll start with you, Nixon. Who's your bold call this season? One guy you're planting your flag on?
I would say A-Rob being a top 5 receiver, Adams being the number 1 receiver, and I'll hit at it from a running back perspective. I think Mixon for some reason is still way undervalued right now, and I get it. People are worried about a holdout, and that's maybe a real thing to be worried about. But dude, in that offense with a good quarterback now. Hopefully AJ Green healthy, all the additions they made, they went out and spent big in free agency on defense. So they're probably going to want to lean on him when they've got the game in hand. Look what he's done. He's a stud. I remember coming out of that draft, obviously he fell for good reason because what happened, in college, but I love Mixon this year. And I still think, and to that same point, I think I will have in redraft and dynasty startup everywhere. I will end up with a lot more David Montgomery than Miles Sanders this year because the threat of Peterson just being a donkey and using 72 different running backs and killing Miles Sanders is a real threat to his value, especially where he's going now.
Do you have a quarterback that you have a sleeper on, or you're a bold call on?
I would say that I just don't. I think Jimmy G is probably the most overrated quarterback in the league right now. I think that team would win so many more games with a more capable quarterback. Let me think. Who are some of who moved around this year? I feel like there was one.
Was it? Yeah, Rivers went to Indy. Who else moved? Bridgewater.
Bridgewater moved.
We could see good old PJ from the XFL end up replacing Teddy out in Carolina.
Our other co-host would be sign off on that big time. He thinks Walker is the better quarterback over.
Absolutely.
Him and his 54% completion rate.
I'll say Minshew. Like Minshew's a guy that I'm not just being a homer. Like they've got Dobbs and Glennon behind him, dude. His job's safe.
Yeah.
He's going to go out there and throw the ball a shit ton, and he is free right now. And he has one of the schedule adjusted. He's got one of the easiest schedules in the league this year for a quarterback. So I like Minshew a lot, and that's not just me being a homer. Like I think, if you can see him, especially again, let's talk about Gruden being his OC, and look what Gruden's done for quarterbacks their entire career. So I'll go with Minshew as the quarterback call.
To piggyback off of what you said,
there's our other co-host jumping in there talking about PJ being the man. He's a huge PJ fan. Anthony, I interrupted you, and I apologize. What was your question you wanted to ask?
I didn't have a question. I wanted to piggyback right off of him, and Allen Robinson is far and away one of my favorite values of this draft class. When we look at, I just did a dynasty startup where Allen Robinson was drafted in the 3rd, and he might have been the 4th round. I drafted him. and it was right at the turn. So call it the third or the fourth. It doesn't matter. Allen Robinson profiles to be a top 12 wide receiver. I mean, he's the best option, the most elite option. And he's now a full year recovered from an ACL injury. So wait, let me understand this. He tore his ACL in Jacksonville, and then he went to Chicago the year after that. Is that correct?
Yes, he played 2 seasons in Chicago.
And so his second season in Chicago was last year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Allen Robinson's a top 12 wide receiver. I think he's going to do the same thing he did last year, if not more. And honestly, I like Nick Foles a whole lot more than I like Mr. Trubisky for Allen Robinson's purposes. There's not a lot of, they didn't draft anybody. There's nobody taking away targets. I mean, the situation is still the same.
I got it. Well, I think Anthony Miller could take that next step. To your point, though, I got in that startup league I was talking about a second ago. I got him at 4'11".
Yeah,
people also
no-brainer.
forget he's still young. He's not old.
He's like 24 years old.
25, maybe 25 now. Yeah, he's not old, and he's going to end up. The football gods are going to have mercy on him, and he's going to end up with a good quarterback at some point. And we're going to finally see him be the best receiver in football.
No, probably not with the Bears, by the way.
No.
Yeah, we actually we
Bears
did a Bears preview show earlier, and that's what we were talking, because I thought Robinson was much older than he was. I thought he was closer to 30, and then Dennis pointed out, he's like, no, he's like 26 years old. It's like, my God. And that poor guy has never, as you just mentioned, had a good quarterback. Just imagine what he could be if he had.
I can't imagine.
The ball. So Tony, give us your last your bold call at running back and quarterback real quick.
Oh, running back. Shit. So quarterback is Tannehill's due for major regression based off what expectations are. When I looked back at A.J. Brown, like I wanted to make an argument that A.J. Brown's not elite. And so I looked at A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill's stats together. And what I found was A.J. Brown is elite and Ryan Tannehill is a game manager. That's kind of what I found when I looked at the statistics. So A.J. Brown's going to be overvalued. I'm sorry. Ryan Tannehill is going to be overdrafted, and I don't think that he performs to where he's drafted at. So that's my quarterback. And then at running back, it gets more difficult because there's so many changes. I mean, it gets so much more difficult. I think that I struggle because there's so many things. Like all these, I think about David Johnson. I think about Todd Gurley. I think about Le'Veon Bell. I mean, there's a bunch of running backs in here that I think are all being grossly undervalued because they have a safe floor. I guess if I had to put it in one like thing, it would be that it's okay to wait for your running back, your second running back. It's okay to wait because there's plenty of running back twos with running back one upside. I can't name one. Leonard Fournette's falling too far. He's just falling way too far. Todd Gurley, I just named them all. I'm not going to name them all again.
I'd rather have both Gurley and DJ than Fournette. Like, I think that we've seen the most opportunity that Fournette's going to get in Jacksonville last year, and with the touchdowns just never happening, I think they're gonna try to see what they have in Armstead, and I think Chris Thompson's going to have a real role on that team too because he's one of Gruden's homeboys. So I think he's going to have a real role. I want to hear though where the hell. Why don't you sit here and sort this out for us with Marlon Mack? What's going to happen with him?
Well, actually, let's save that. I'm about to talk to Marlon Mack. I want to jump on Chris Thompson. I agree, and that's where I don't think Leonard Fournette is going to be as good because he got the 70 catches last year, and as you mentioned, he really just doesn't seem to score touchdowns. I think Chris Thompson, while he's healthy, because we know he struggles with injuries as well, he's really going to be used as that PPR back. So my bold calls, I'm going to double up on my Browns here. I think Baker and Odell, as you were mentioning earlier too, Nixon, I think they're going to have huge bounce back seasons. I mean, Odell still went for over 1,000 yards last year, only getting 77 catches. I know, and the 4 touchdowns while injured with the hip flexor and the groin issue, or the core muscle injury that he had. It's the only time that he's played almost the entire season and not caught over 100 balls. I think he's in for a huge year this year, and that I think Baker's coming as well. And the Marlon Mack thing, my bold call is I think Jonathan Taylor is going to finish in the top 14 at running back for fantasy this year because I think he is such a good running back. He is the best pure runner that came out in this draft class. I think he is heads above Marlon Mack. He is going to relegate Marlon Mack to like a 20% timeshare. I think Jonathan Taylor is the back to own. No, he's not that great at catching the ball, but he's such a good runner. And behind that offensive line, they don't need to dump the ball down to him. All Phillip Rivers has to do is hand him the ball. Jonathan Taylor is going to eat. So that's my bold call running back.
I don't know that Taylor is not a good pass catching running back. I mean, he caught 20 more passes in his college career than Melvin Gordon did.
Let me report that because I didn't get to do this on the last episode, so I'm going to do it now. It's because they made it a point to do that last year at Wisconsin. He came out and said, hey, I want to catch the ball.
I don't care why.
Made the point to feed him the ball. You can throw me behind an offensive line and throw me the ball 10 times. If I catch it 10 times, doesn't make me a good receiver. If you go back
catch it 10 times or you don't catch it 10 times. I don't care
watch
why.
The tape. Like Nixon talked about earlier, you got to go back and watch the tape. There was a lot of passes that were easy passes, easy dump-offs that Taylor dropped. And in certain situations, just like Dennis, I know you watched the Ohio State game, like that pass that Dobbins dropped that he should have caught. There's certain guys that, he can catch the ball when it's a nice little dump-off pass, but when it's that wheel route and they throw it up and he's got to catch it over his shoulder to make a big play, Taylor wasn't making those plays. He was making the easy catches. So he is not a great receiver. I'm not saying he can't become a great receiver. As you just mentioned, look at Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon was not a good receiver coming out of Wisconsin. He turned that around with the Chargers. Taylor can still do it. Story's not written on him, but I don't think he's a good receiver right now. Not saying he can't become one. He's just not right now, in my opinion.
Do you know who doesn't care about whether a player was good or not at catching balls out of the backfield in college? Indianapolis Colts, because Marlon Mack was especially good at catching the ball out of the backfield in college, and they refused to pass the ball to Marlon Mack. And that's the thing for me is like, is this coach speak where they're saying, all right, that's a real 1-1 punch for us? No. So I don't feel like Nyheim Hines deserves a role then if they think they have something with Mack and Taylor. People forget they went into Kansas City against Mahomes and beat them because of Marlon Mack last year. Some of the best, the prettiest running I saw all season last year was in that game from him. And
go ahead. I'm sorry. I just get so excited. I'm so worked up about it. Nyheim Hines is going to be one of the better punt returners in the league. He's going to be one of the better kick returners in the league. You're absolutely right. Jonathan Taylor, I was just talking to somebody about this literally an hour before we started recording. I had somebody in my backyard, and we were talking about Nyheim Hines. And I said, I am very worried that Nyheim Hines is being relegated down to 5 touches a game, 4 touches a game. I mean, that's a real opportunity because Marlon Mack's not going to be cast aside. They're not done with Marlon Mack. He didn't do anything wrong. He was he 1,000-yard back last year?
I don't know. I can look really quick.
Will you look it up? I think he was. And if he wasn't, he was really, really close to it. I mean, multiple years, the Colts running game has been successful with Marlon Mack. I don't think they're going to just cast him away. They're not done with Marlon Mack. Jonathan Taylor is a better talent.
Mack had 1,100 yards in 14 games.
Thank you.
And then
Marlon Mack. Jonathan Taylor's better than Marlon Mack in every single asset of football. And so what I expect to happen is I expect Marlon Mack to dominate early season touches like weeks 1 through 6. It's Marlon Mack. Now you get a taste of Jonathan Taylor. And every time Jonathan Taylor touches the ball, we're going to be like, why the fuck isn't Jonathan Taylor only touching the ball? Like, why are you even giving the ball to Marlon Mack?
Oh, it's like David Johnson rookie year.
Yes, it's exactly like that. Yes,
yeah, because you remember that he was housing kickoff returns, and everybody's like, why the hell won't Arians put this dude in? It was Andre Ellington, exactly right? Wasn't that the other running back?
Andre Ellington, yes. It's exactly
Hall of Famer Andre Ellington.
To be fair, I was a big believer in him as well. That was like CJ Spiller for me, where I was like, oh, he's going to be the next Spiller, and that he was.
And I think it's all the Colts are generous enough to showcase Marlon Mack, to use him to win a few games, to give him an opportunity to go sign with another team, and then moving forward, it's Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack won't be with the Colts in 2021.
So I agree. That I was going to make the Browns comparison with that with Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's rookie year, when they gave Nick Chubb the ball, he clearly looked like the better back than Carlos Hyde. I don't disagree. I think that's what they're going to do. They'll give Marlon Mack some carries to be able to then trade him to get some draft capital back, and it's going to be all.
That's what I was about to say. Is if they're feeding him, I don't think it's for the offseason. I think they're going to be like, well, can we get something from a team?
That's fair. That's fair enough.
Like Tampa Bay or a team like the Patriots or maybe Pittsburgh. He's, in my opinion, better than every running back that all three of those teams have right now.
Yeah. And someone's going to suffer an injury too. So then that opens the market up even more. All right, Dennis, what about yours? You're the other one who hasn't given any bold calls yet.
Well, I was trying to avoid it. No, I'm big on Cortland Sutton this year. I think Sutton's going to be top 5, top 6. He's currently going around wide receiver 14, I think 15. I actually just took him in a best ball draft as wide receiver 16 in the 4th round, actually. Let me take that back. Yeah, 4th round, wide receiver 16. I'm like, how can Cortland Sutton still be there?
Yeah.
It was crazy. I think, too, if I'm looking to stack a couple players, I'm looking at Galladay and Stafford. I think Stafford, he's somebody coming off an injury. If I'm playing Dynasty and I need a second quarterback, I might be trying to grab him because I think he's going to put up QB1 numbers. And Galladay has just shown he gets the job done. And when Marvin Jones is healthy, they have a great 1-2 punch, and it's going to give Stafford a really nice set of weapons to work with. I just think Galladay gets the touchdowns, except there'll be one game Marvin has 4 touchdowns.
He's got to get that one.
I forgot who it was that put out something about his profile recently, though, that scares me a little bit as somebody that has been a huge Galladay fan. Is he's just not as still elite of a separator as Marvin is. And
no, Marvin's definitely faster and can a little more. He's got some more shake to him.
And to that point, though, when you were asking me, I can't believe I didn't say Stafford like as my QB, like 1,000,000%. I got an argument the other day with somebody on Twitter when they said that he was the most overrated quarterback. And I was like, what? He's somehow still the most underrated quarterback in football.
Underrated.
Like he's one of those guys. Like I hope I don't jinx you as a Lions fan here, but I just feel like he's one of those guys where he could have been on one of these teams that, their quarterback play is always what kept them from going to that next level. And in Detroit, it wasn't the quarterback play, it was everything else that kept them from going to the next level. And I really hope it's not too late at this point, with the injuries. I hope we see at least another good 3 seasons out of him. I love Stafford, and I love the Galladay call and the Sutton call. Right there with you. I looked up as soon as you said that where I just got him. And I will say, though, I don't know how bold of a call. Maybe it's bold because a lot of people are scared of him now because of Judy, and which people, we do that in Dynasty every year. And on that episode with Elliot, Proctor and I made fun of this very thing. But somebody like Judy gets drafted to Denver, and everybody starts freaking out about Sutton. It's like, we've seen Sutton be the alpha dog already.
Right.
Like
he's not just going to give that job away.
He doesn't have to prove himself. He is the man there until Judy just takes it from him. Hopefully it doesn't become that. But to that point,
if Judy takes it from him, why can't that system, why can't they? They're not mutually exclusive.
Look at Green Bay.
Cortland Sutton can be great, and Jerry Judy can also be great. We can have 2. It's possible. And and in that offense, the question is Drew Lock. What do you think about Drew Lock?
I worry for everyone in that offense. To that point about Sutton is I have been trying, and it's not because of Judy. I have been trying to load up on A-Rob everywhere that I don't have him, that I've been offering Sutton and trying to get A-Rob in a piece, A-Rob and something. And I'm getting denied everywhere, and I'm using it as A-Rob or Sutton has only been playing this long, and their rebuttal every time is, but now they got Judy. So I look like the guy that's scared of Judy, and it's like, I'm not scared of Judy. If anything, Noah Fant is the one that's hurt from that draft class. And then that, again, I think another bold call is TJ Hawkinson. I think it should be the beast that everyone thought he was. He was one of the best tight end prospects that have come out in a long ass time. So I think that hurts Noah. I don't understand the pick of Locke's tight end from college. That was a head scratcher to me.
Wasn't it though?
Yeah. So, Yeah, I hope Locke can be that guy. It would be nice to see, as someone that thinks always a donkey, it would be nice to see him actually hit on a quarterback finally after he took a swing and a miss so many times. But
he finally got Peyton. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like used everyone else though as the reason that they won and not Peyton, which was fair. The year they finally won the Super Bowl, Peyton was trash that year. But
do you remember the duck ball? Do you remember the ball?
Oh,
do you remember it?
Yes,
it was
dude.
like I could throw that ball.
But like to especially with how Gase was the guy that everyone like elevated because of those years of Peyton. And you look at Gase now and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like, how many Super Bowls could Peyton have won in Denver if he didn't have Gase as his OC? Which, I mean, Gase was probably just holding the chart, and I'm sure Peyton was running the show there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think from a tight end standpoint, if I'm going to make a bold call, I think the tight end to own in Cleveland is David Njoku. He's going to outscore Hooper.
Hey, guess who's going to outscore them both?
Oh,
the guy that replaced Cooper in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hurst is going to have a great year.
He's going to be a beast down there, man. Just the opportunity that's there for him. And again, it's like people are just completely overlooking that. It's like, look at the targets that are there for him to inherit now. It's very condensed in that offense to where the ball's going to go, which is another reason why I fucking love Calvin Ridley. But I think everyone in the industry loves Calvin Ridley this year because we know that Julio, as sad as it is, his best days are, probably starting to be in the rearview mirror now.
Yeah.
But
he'll only have 1,200 yards this year.
Yeah, that's
right.
No, I'm not saying he's
instead of 17.
Wait a minute.
I'm saying Ridley is I think also going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, and like he's just the guy that is going to start to take over eventually, sooner than later. There, Julio is probably my favorite football player of all time, so it definitely saddens me to say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in Cleveland if Hooper actually catches more passes than Njoku. I just think Njoku will have more yards and more touchdowns. And
I mean,
he's just
like
a lot more athletic.
I like that call a lot. I'll say the one guy in that offense that I won't have anywhere, and it hurt me last year, but I won't. I mean, I just don't think Jarvis Landry can keep doing what he did.
Yeah.
At some point, it has to change there, and I think that if OBJ is supposed to be the savior, this has got to be the year, right?
OBJ may be the savior, but Jarvis is the safety. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
He's not gonna. He's still gonna get a lot of targets. He's not gonna get the yardage. He just, that's not his game. But he's a baller. He's gonna be out there. He's gonna be fighting. He's gonna get the first downs in point per first down leagues. Jarvis Landry, that's your dude.
Dude, how many touchdowns did he have last year? I feel like he was the one catching every damn touchdown as well.
Yeah, he's Baker's safety blanket, as Dennis was just saying. It's crazy how people underestimate him. I mean, he finished as wide receiver 12 last year in full point PPRs. He had 6 touchdowns last year, but he had almost 1,200 yards on 83 catches. It's just, I think the difference, and I do agree with you, I think he will take a step back this year. I think the reason he was so good last year is because he already had that chemistry with Baker. And we saw Odell, because he missed all the preseason stuff, all the training camp stuff. He didn't really get that time. Now, the bad part about that is, too, as Tony was mentioned earlier, with COVID-19, we know that they're going to open some kind of training camps, but what will they be doing? Will they actually be running full drills and all that stuff? So will Baker and Odell still get to work on that chemistry? Because I think that's going to be the biggest thing for those guys. They don't have the chemistry that Baker and Landry had from playing that whole year together in his rookie season.
Yeah, Landry had his highest yards per catch last season by 2 full yards.
Well, I don't know.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, Nixon, tell us where we can find your record and your podcast.
On everywhere that you listen to your records and podcasts. Check out our new album, Envy, the name of the band, Framing Hanley. You can find it on Spotify, on Apple Music. You can go to our merch store. I don't know how to direct you there because I'm really bad at this stuff. I've only been doing it for 15 years.
Right.
Podcasts as well on Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. But yeah, we it's funny. I got so ingrained in football because, when my oldest son started school, I was like, I'm not going to be gone. I don't want to tour 250, 300 days out of the year anymore. And, took a break from music for 5 years. So this album that we just released in February before the entire world shut down is the first album that we put out in 6 years, and absolutely the best work that I've ever been a part of. So please, if you're listening and watch this, just go check it out. If you like rock and roll, or just want to support somebody that likes football, go to Framing Hanley. Name of the album is Envy. And thank you guys for having me. Name of the podcast, Two in the Bink, Fantasy Football 201 with my boy Proctor. And find me on Twitter at FH Nixon. And thank you guys for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Man.
I vouch for the album. As Dennis knows, I'm someone who does not listen to music very often, and I downloaded the album to kind of get an idea of what we were listening to, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I'm with you on that, man. It's because it's hard to get me to listen to music, and I actually listened to the whole album, so it was very good. I very much suggest downloading it as well, and check out the podcast. Like I said, I really enjoyed the episode with Elliot Chris. I've already subscribed. I'll continue listening once you guys put stuff out. We really do appreciate you jumping on with us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, we will be back again next week on Monday. Everybody have a good weekend and stay safe out there.
Stay safe.